Good evening. The October 10th, 2017 regular meeting of the Mentor Exempted Village Board of Education is called to order. This meeting is being held in accordance with Section 3313.15 of the Ohio Revised Code. Mr. Wilson, will you please call the roll?
Mrs. Briner?
Here.
Ms. Miller?
Here.
Mr. Shaw?
Here.
Mr. Tuttle?
Here.
Mrs. Jisling?
Present. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I would like to welcome everyone to the October 10th, 2017 regular meeting of the Mentor Exempted Village Board of Education. Prior to this evening, each board member has received for their review and consideration the agenda and materials associated with each agenda item for the board's approval via the district's paperless Board of Education agenda system, Board Docs. The public can access the agenda through the school's district website. The agenda is available through the district's website for public viewing the Sunday prior to the board meeting. Board members have the opportunity to call the superintendent and chief financial officer for information concerning agenda items and to request, if needed, additional information. There are two places on the agenda when the board entertains comments from the community. The first hearing of the public is dedicated to those who wish to address the board on agenda items only. The second hearing of the public is dedicated to those who wish to address the board on any subject, whether it is an item on the agenda or another issue. When addressing the board, please state your name. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Please address questions to the president. This meeting is being televised on a delayed basis and will be shown on Spectrum Cable Channel 96.96 in Mentor and Channel 96.22 in Mentor on the Lake. This meeting is also being videotaped and will be shown on our YouTube channel, Cardinal TV, Mentor, Ohio. Please place your mobile phones on silent mode during the meeting. Okay. First, we call for approval of the minutes for the September 12th, September 28th, and October 2nd meetings. The first is a regular, and the second two are special meetings.
So moved.
Second.
If I'd like to call the board's attention, it was noted at the September 12th meeting we had a typographical error on a name. We did take the liberty of correcting that. It's on page 44 of the minutes, so that has now been corrected for the name.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. And will you call the roll?
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Mr. Tuttle?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Abstain.
Ms. Jisling?
Yes. And a hearing of the public on agenda items. Is there anyone who would wish to speak? Okay, moving on. The superintendent's report and recommendations. Mr. Porter.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam President, members of the board. I have the following recommendations listed under the consent agenda and recommend approval of items 5A1 through 5A3.
So moved.
Second.
And Mr. Wilson, will you call the roll?
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Mr. Tuttle?
Yes.
Ms. Jisling?
Yes.
Madam President and members of the board, we are proud to recognize our National Merit semifinalist and commended students this evening. High school unit principal, Mr. McKnight, along with Mr. Shaw, will make the presentation.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the Board of Education, Superintendent Porter, and Mrs. Wilson. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share some great news from Mentor High School with you tonight. The National Merit Scholarship Program was established in 1955 to honor individual students who show exceptional academic ability and to encourage the pursuit of academic excellence. Approximately 1.6 million juniors in more than 22,000 high schools entered the 2018 National Merit Scholarship Program by taking the 2016 preliminary SAT National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test. This served as an initial screen for the program entrance. The nationwide pool of semifinalists represents less than 1% of the U.S. high school seniors, including the highest scoring entrants in each state. Of the approximately 16,000 semifinalists, about 15,000 are expected to advance to the finalist level. The National Merit Scholarship Corporation will award 7,500 National Merit Scholarships, designating those winners with Merit Scholar title. This evening, we are proud to announce our National Merit semifinalists. Will the following students please come forward? Steve Bengal. I know he's not able to be here tonight. Kristen Buse. Michael Chen. Michael Farrow. Nathaniel Mulby. And Noah Rolfs was not able to be with us tonight either. Those are our National Merit Scholarship semifinalists. And now we'd like to recognize the commended students. Commended students for the 2018 National Merit Scholarship Program are being recognized for the exceptional academic promise demonstrated by their outstanding performance on the 2016 preliminary SAT National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test. Approximately 34,000 commended students throughout the nation have been recognized. Commended students placed among the top 50,000 scorers of more than 1.6 million students who entered the 2018 National Merit Scholarship Competition. This evening, we are proud to announce our National Merit Commended students. Will the following students please come forward? Dimitra Bibidakis. Okay. Daniel Crow. Corey Friedrich. Devin Messner. Thomas Odo. And Nicholas Reidenauer. Another round of applause for our commended students. Thank you very much.
Thank you. At this time, I, along with Mr. Shaw, would like to recognize our PTA and PTSA presidents. We all know the importance of parent involvement in our schools. For many years, the PTA has given endless hours of service to our students, staff, and community. We are very thankful to them for their many projects and their tireless dedication. I can personally say the mentor presidents have been extraordinarily outstanding in the 10 years that I've been in the district. And I would ask when I call your name to please come forward. Also, if the principal of the school of that PTA or PTSA president is here, I would invite them to come forward too, so the walk isn't as lonely for our presidents. So, from Bellflower, PTA, Ann Horvath. And from Brentmore PTA, Kelly Kelbach. Fairfax PTA, Kelly Balin. From the Garfield PTA, Aaron Medved. From Hopkins PTA, Kristen Mignona. From the Lake Elementary PTA, Danielle Overall and Brittany Elliott. From Orchard Hollows PTA, April Helsberger. From Sterling Morton PTA, Rachel Tabone. From Memorials PTA, Christine Henninger. From Ridge PTA, Melissa Fatika. From the Shore PTSA, standing in for Jennifer Seach today, Jessica Thellman. From Mentor High School's PTSA, Nisa Sutton and Patsy Hickson.
Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your leadership.
And Lake County Council, also from Mentor, Taryn Winnie. If we could, one final round of applause for all of our PTA and PTSA presidents. Thank you. Madam President and members of the board, at this time I would like to update you on the strategic planning process. Last week here in Paradigm, over 70 stakeholders gathered for an organizational meeting to continue our district's strategic planning work and to begin this year's work in 4 specifically targeted task forces: education, safety, resources, and community partnerships. The stakeholders include board members, administrators, classified personnel, teachers and other certified personnel, parents, local business and government leaders, and community members. We also have a plan in the process to include our most important stakeholders, our students. Together, these task forces will spend the next 8 months formulating about 3 to 5 initiatives in each of those areas to help guide us for the next 3 to 5 school years. Besides continuing the work that we have in all of our school roles on a yearly basis, the elements of this plan will define who we are, what we believe in, and how we continue to serve the students and greater community in the years ahead. In other words, the strategic plan helps us to be uniquely Mentor. The details of the plan and the corresponding action steps will conclude around May, but it's important to note that under the Resources Task Force, we will give special attention to the need to make some important decisions about our facilities. With our enrollment continuing on a downward trend and the importance of maintaining fiscal responsibility, we must make sure our district is right-sized. That could include a building closure or closures, reconfiguration of groups of students, repurposing existing spaces, boundary adjustments, and more. I expect to make any recommendations needed to the board around mid-year so we have time to adjust accordingly. I appreciate the board's ongoing support as we go through the process, as well as the support from all the other stakeholder groups. And at this time, I'm happy to answer any questions about the strategic planning process.
I thought everything started off with such a good global view, and I was so gratified that we have so many members of our community happy to lend their expertise and point of view to help us make the best decisions possible.
I agree. Thank you. Madam President and members of the board, this evening we have first readings of revised policies 6.08, 6.19, 6.34, 6.50, 6.51, 7.16, 7.19, 7.27, 7.34, 9.23, and 9.42. Because this is a first reading, no vote is necessary.
We'll take just a couple of minutes recess to allow our students who have had such outstanding achievements to get their homework done. So if they would like to stay for the rest of the meeting, they're more than welcome. But if they have other things on their plate for tonight, you may go. Thank you. Then back to Mr. Porter.
Thank you. Madam President and members of the board, I am recommending approval of revised policy 6.15 and 7.04.
Any discussion? Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
And Mr. Wilson, will you call the roll?
Mr. Tuttle?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Jisling?
Yes.
Thank you. Madam President and members of the board, I am recommending approval of agenda item C1 related to certified personnel and C2 through C5, all related to human resource matters.
So moved.
Second?
And Mr. Wilson, will you call the roll?
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Mr. Tuttle?
Yes.
Ms. Jisling?
Yes.
Thank you. I am also recommending approval of agenda item 5D related to administrative personnel.
So moved. Second?
And Mr. Wilson, will you call the roll?
Mr. Tuttle?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Jisling?
Yes.
Thank you. This concludes my portion of tonight's agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. And Mr. Wilson.
Yes, we have before you a resolution to support the Mentor Public Library's no tax increase levy renewal, recognizing that the public library district has contiguous boundaries to the school district and actually is a public school district library system. We appoint trustees, approve their budget, approve levy requests. This particular levy is a no tax increase renewal of 2 mills, which will allow the library to continue to serve their patrons. And last year, there were over 55,000 active library card holders and a circulation of 1.2 million with over 400,000 patron visits. We believe very much in the mission of the library and how they contribute to the quality of life in the community, and ask the board to go on record by adopting this resolution of support.
I think there are few institutions that compare to the public library in the ability to promote and support lifelong learning. A quality community can be seen in the quality of its library. And I think Director Cheryl Cronin has done a spectacular job as she's carried on that mission and expanded services and programming, and those little pop-up libraries are delightful. So
Moved.
Second.
And Mr. Wilson?
Mr. Tuttle?
Yes.
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Ms. Jesley?
Yes. And to Mr. Tuttle, our legislative report, please.
Thank you, Madam President. There's a few bullets there that, regarding medical examinations for school bus drivers. State Representative Ginter has introduced the bill there. Nothing of any significant change or consequence. Farther on down, though, I do want to just point out Senate Bill 196 and 197, both introduced by Senator Sandra Williams of Cleveland. And by the way, she's highly qualified in what she's doing. She's highly educated, and what she's offered or introduced into the Senate is that a bill 196 will create an aggravated bullying charge for juveniles. If passed, the offense states that no person shall knowingly cause another person to believe that the offender will cause serious physical or emotional harm to the person or property of the other person. Whoever violates this is guilty of aggravated bullying, and the resulting charge will be a misdemeanor of the 3rd degree. What's interesting there is a 3rd degree misdemeanor at the maximum, and this is punishable up to 60 days in jail, up to a $500 fine. In addition to the same bill, she has a related one, 197, that will require a tiered disciplinary procedure for harassment, intimidation, or bullying in school, to require annual student instruction about preventing such acts, and to create the offense of aggravated bullying as a 3rd degree misdemeanor. So bullying continues, and she's addressing it. Don't know where it's going to go. It may go forward, may not, but I wish her the best of luck, because there are those offenders who do deserve a little bit more attention than others, because bullying is tough to stop. So thank you very much.
If I may add just one semi-breaking news development. Bill shared with me some information he received in Columbus last week about an initiative by Senator Huffman, who is rising in prominence and influence on education matters in the state. And just today, Senate Bill 216 was enacted, titled Ohio Public School Deregulation Act. From what I'm hearing from our folks, the legislative liaisons at OSBA, BASA, and OASBO, they believe that given the sponsor that this bill will have some serious consideration, and basically it's addressing the issue of unfunded and underfunded mandates, either by providing funding or providing relief from some of the mandates. There have been a couple other initiatives over the decades in this, but never with someone with the prominence of Senator Huffman. I'm guessing we'll hear a lot more about this when we're in Columbus at Capitol Conference, but it's kind of breaking news, if you will, and something that would be of great interest to us.
Dan, has there been any updates on ECOT?
Yes. The ECOT continues to invest a lot of funding into marketing and public positioning. They now are stating that they believe they'll be forced out of business by December 31st if they have to continue to repay the $60 million for the students they could not document were attending in 15-16, and an additional, I believe it's $10 million for students they couldn't document were attending last academic term. Many believe that's still a posturing position. They went all the way through the Ohio Supreme Court without success seeking relief. They could go to the United States Supreme Court, but it's not the type of issue they would typically take up. So there continues to be concerns both on whether or not they're going to fully repay the funding, and secondarily, there's still been no legislative action on ensuring those monies flow back to the school districts that originally were deducted for the funding. And if you recall, in our budget book, we identified that we receive over $100,000 and receive it in the right way. We feel the effect of a $100,000 deduction from our state subsidy for students attending the ECOT program. We have no direct knowledge of what portion of those maybe were students that could not be documented, but believe that some amount of that money may not have been properly deducted from us. So we are still actively engaged in trying to get legislation introduced and enacted to ensure the monies ultimately return to their original source, which were the individual school districts.
Excellent. And I believe we move to you, Mr. Wilson.
Yes, thank you. Tonight, for the first time, we're presenting a consent agenda of our treasurer items A through F, approval of the monthly financial statements, approval of September investments, approval of cash advance, approval of appropriation modification, approval of supplemental appropriations, and approval of new student activity purpose goals and budgets. I did place before you one substitution for the appropriation modification as we continue to begin to implement and operate on the 2017-2018 budget that the board had adopted on September 28th. We found the need for some adjustments, and they are included. There's no net change in spending. It's just the allocation within individual account items. So I request approval of the consent agenda with the substitute item on appropriation modifications.
So moved.
Second.
And Mr. Wilson, will you call the roll?
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Tuttle?
Yes.
Ms. Jisling?
Yes. And any unfinished business to bring before the board? Any new business before the board? No. Second hearing of the public, did anybody wish to address? No. And at this time, we're going to, I'll call for a motion to adjourn to executive session to review matters involving collective bargaining and also to consider the interim superintendent's evaluation. We expect to return
No action
with no
other than
action.
adjourning.
Other than adjournment, so I believe that that would be the end of our public business for this evening, if we have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
And
Mrs.
Mr. Wilson, will you call the roll?
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Mr. Tuttle?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Ms. Jisling?
Yes, we are adjourned to executive session.